Hi, and welcome to Semmelweis STEMtalk. Our wonderful guest for today is Dr. Sebestyén, who is a research professor at the Department of Pathology and Experimental Cancer Research of Semmelweis University. She is also a doctor of the Hungarian Academy of Sciences. Not only is she a devoted researcher and a nurturing mentor, but she's also a family woman and a mom of 4 kids. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for your invitation. It's a great pleasure for me that you are interested in many things and also in my career.
Now, can you actually tell us how your passion for science started and how did you actually get into a research career?
Yes, I think it was more than 30 years ago. I was in the elementary school and I had a great chemistry teacher and she explained me many things about chemistry, and I understand that it's much more important in every other science, for example, in biology. Mm-hmm. And after I turned to biology in my secondary school, in my high school, and I read many things about Madame Curie, and therefore I wanted to be a researcher and not a doctor. And that was the first point. Yeah. And after I needed to fight to my parents because they wanted me to be a doctor and not scientist, because probably they know that how hard to be a researcher and find the foundation for your work.
I see.
That was the beginning.
What made you interested in cancer research?
It was started at the university because I have many friends, and one of my friends told me that, oh, my father is working in cancer research, and if you want to find a place for your student research work, I can suggest to meet with him. And in that point, I met with Professor Kopper. He he is my mentor, because I was in his lab and I grew up in his lab, and I think I have a great experience, and I think I can thank everything for him in my research career. And he was an extremely good person because he taught me that the most important things are the good questions. And I think not the good one, but the super good questions. And when I worked with him in his laboratory, everybody was jealous about me. And everybody came to our laboratory, to Professor Kopper, to ask help and clearing in many different things. And in my first abstract, when I wrote my first abstract and first thesis or whatever, we worked on paper because it was really a long time ago, and I gave him this, and after I get back a paper with many red things. And I think it was shocking at the first time, but I think through many years I could learn many things, how I need to write, concentrate to one things, and I think it was great. And at the moment, I need to correct my students' work.
Right.
But now many things changed, because now we cannot use these reds, and we only can suggest that you need to correct something. Because I think the recent new researchers has much more afraid about critics. But I think the critics from the tutor or from the mentor is not because of you are not enough good. It's only help you to get better and to grow and to find the way, the good way or the bad one, because it's not always happening that you find first the good way in your career or in your research.
And what would you say were the biggest challenges for you on your way to becoming a researcher?
I think the first one was to find a way how I can find a good tutor or find something, because at the other university, because I am a biologist, they did not offer research in human biology and medical sciences, and therefore I needed to go to somewhere else, to Semmelweis for the medical department, and it was not easy because I was young and shy, but I think I was lucky because of find the first department of pathology in that way, because in this institute I met with many different professors, and all of these were the best in their research career, and I think not only one of them were really in the top of science at the moment, and therefore we can started to work really at the top topics in cancer research, for example in apoptosis or metastasis functions and whatever, because the Professor Lapis, the academists, lead this institute, and they collect many good papers in one institute. And I think it was a very good microenvironment to grow up.
Very nice. You know, I think a lot of people can relate to what you mentioned. You know, one of the toughest parts of starting a research career is being young and shy and not sure of yourself and not really know what you want yet exactly, and not really know where you're going. So I think it's very relatable. But was there anything that surprised you when you started your career? Because maybe you've never even imagined that things go in a certain way or anything like that.
Yes, I think it was so interesting and very happy story that at the university we had many good professors, and they really follow the exact things in the science at the moment. For example, in the lectures they talk about the newest things in the literature. And after I went to this research department, and there I found the similar situation, because everybody works with these new techniques. For example, the polymerase chain reaction came to every laboratory in these times, and we could start with work exactly in the same moment that anybody started in Europe or in America. And after we heard many things about the science, and I think it was interesting but frightening a bit, because we saw that we need to do somewhere the first steps, and we were in the same situation with our professors, because everything was new for everybody in that moment. But I think this is what is the most challenging things if your work. And I think this was one very interesting moment. And the other one is that we saw that the financing for research work is a very hard work, and therefore we needed to thinking about what we can buy and what we cannot buy, and therefore we needed to thinking about how we can spare money. And it's an interesting thing at the beginning, because if you need to thinking about spare something, you can find other solutions, other ways, and it works in your mind, and it's help growing up and find the ways in many different and serious situations.
You know, we always mention the different challenges that people go through on their way to science, which I think is very important to bring up. But also, I think it's also very important to focus on the wonderful things about the journey and on the positives of the journey. Now, for you, what are your biggest moments of joy and happiness on a day-to-day basis in your work?
I think the biggest challenge to find the happy moments, because sometimes you have unsuccess moments in other parts of your life. But if you go to the lab and you concentrate for your work, after you can find many good things in your science, and this open the sunshine in every other aspect of in your life. And I think it's helping in everywhere. And I think if you do many things, not too much things, because too much is too much, many things, you can find somewhere this moment and this point, and this can help to go through any difficulties in your life. I think that's the point. And the other one, which is, I think, very important, you need to be lucky during your work. But if you work hard enough, the lucky will find you in some points, and after everything goes like a circled engine, and will bring everything through in this research, or in your family, or in your educational activity, or everywhere.
You know, being a researcher is not only about lab work per se, not all the time, right? You mentioned today about, you know, writing papers, presenting your work, and I think these are the skills that a lot of young scientists especially find very difficult, because they don't really know how to approach it and where to start when they begin. Do you have any advice for young scientists as to how they can improve those skills?
I think it's not easy to suggest something, because every person has different skills. But I think the most important things that if you have some lecture, for example, or some if you need to do some presentations, don't be shy and start and do it, and don't be shy to practice and prepare yourself before something, because I think the most important things that you do what you can, and you need to do everything what you can, and after something will happen, and hopefully it will successful.
And when you say don't be shy to practice, who do you recommend to do you recommend to practice by yourself or in front of other people?
I think first you can practice in a room, or at the computer, or whatever. After, if you are very shy, you can start to present something in the lab, and after you must go out. And if you are shy, you really can practice before anything in a big lecture hall, for example. And I think these are necessary at the beginning, but after you can go without this to anywhere.
I have heard from a lot of our previous guests about you influencing their life in many different ways. And I know that besides lab work, you spend a lot of time mentoring other people, PhD students, undergraduate students, postdocs, many different people. What does mentorship mean to you?
I think I was very young when I needed to start to do such a work, because of my tutor, my mentor, because he had many other things to do. And if young persons came into the lab, I was the person who can show many things for the students. And I think it is a good thing, because they wonder you, and they ask you, and after they can go somewhere else and tell something about your lab or your research. And for example, they can go to conferences and win prizes. And sometimes it's like your children, because you can feel that they are happy, they have success, and it's a bit my success as well. and I think it's a great feeling in the lab. And the other important things that these persons and students came many different parts of the science. And if we have one question, they have another side in these questions. And I think these multidisciplinary questions are very important, because they really can find better questions than me, or better part in these questions. And after we can go together. For example, in this year I had a student in my immunology practice lessons, and we talk about something, not about our science, but about the immunology and cancer and metastasis. And he had a very good idea. We are working part of this idea, but he had another side. And after I told him that you can come to our laboratory in September if you want, and we can start to work together, because this question is really good. And it's a bit your question. And if you go forward in this part of the science and this research work, probably we will use your idea. And I think if you can give such a positive feeling for a student, after he can work much more hard, and he can give much more good points and good results and many things for the whole group. And the other which I think I need to mention about this tutoring, that I don't like if somebody made competitions among the students in his or her own group, because I think in this group we need to work together. Really, we need together, and really we need to know everything about the other's work, because we can find mistakes sometimes, or we can find some better points, or we will have good suggestions for the others. And I think if we are working together, we need to really work together for our success, not only for one person's success. And I think if somebody can learn these things, after he or she could be a very good researcher in many groups. And I think this is also challenging to show these moments and the importance of such behavior in a research work.
And what would you say are your main messages to any young person that goes through the walls of your lab?
I think everybody knows about our lab and about me, that usually we offer many possibilities for everyone, and we always help to everyone. And if anybody has some questions or some interesting points which need some solutions, he can come, and we really help in his work. And I think if you heard about me from the others, this is the exact proof about our important work in my institute, and I think also in Semmelweis, because we have many collaboration with many laboratories.
You said that the success of your PhD students, TDK students, the people that you mentor, often feels like the success of your own children. And you have 4, right?
Yes.
How old are your children?
I have 3 boys and 1 girl, and the boys are studying at the universities, in different universities, and my girl, the youngest one, is in the high school now, and she started the high school at the moment. And I think, I hope now my life will be easier, because now they grow up and now they are easily handle many situations without me. But I think I am always behind them, because I think they need help, but sometimes they tell me, Mommy, we don't need your help. We can manage everything alone. Stay calm and whatever. Yeah.
And what was it like for you to adjust to motherhood while you were a researcher?
Yes, I think it was not easy, but I started my motherhood with 2 boys because they are twins.
Wow.
And I think it was a huge challenge for my family as well. And I have a very good family, and I have a very good background, because my husband, my mother helped a lot at the beginning, and they supported me that I need to work, because they told me that if you like this one, we can help you. And I think it was not easy, but we could manage this. And I think I need to tell also that the university helped a lot, and our institute always, because they didn't check the time what I spent in the laboratory.
Right.
And I think we can say that it's an open time or whatever.
So it's a very flexible schedule.
Yes, it's a
for you
flexible
in the lab?
time. That means that you can work everywhere, not only in the lab, and in that way you can work much more than 8 hours. Because when I finish something at home with my children, after I can go back to my computer at home, and I think it's usual, and I think everybody needs to know that if you have many children and if you want a really nice career, you need to work hard. And I think if you are a woman, you need to hard a bit much more than the man. Because at the beginning, you need to work very, very hard to show that you are and you can do the same amount of work than the others. And after, you need to work hard, because everybody around you needs to forget that you are a mother, and therefore you cannot do many things. Because sometimes they think that if you have children, you have no enough time in your work. But it's not true, because if you have many children, family, and for example, you have some other hobbies and do many things, you can manage many things together. And it's also very important in science, because you need to concentrate your research work and your research part, but you need to hear the other results from other scientific parts, because sometimes in other scientific parts you can find the solution in yours. For example, in cancer research, it's very important, and now I think everybody can understand that the tumor evolution is much more important than anything, because this causes the metastasis and relapse.
Right.
And if you concentrate only the medical solution for the old treatments and, for example, the targeted treatments, and you forget that the tumor is very heterogeneous, and this is the base of the evolution, it causes that you lose something. And I think it was many years, and it needed many years to understand in cancer research that evolution is important. And I think the biologists have a very huge work on that. And now we reach this, and now we rethink the model systems and rethink everything. And I think it's the most important thing in many research.
You know what you mentioned now, that many people think that once you're a mother, you don't have enough time for work or other things, and I think somehow it's completely the opposite, because before you have children, you don't know what time you have. And then once you do have the children, it really focuses your mind on those hours that you never knew you had and how you can juggle them. So I think that is, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I think that's a huge misconception. And in fact, mothers are the most efficient people, some of the most efficient people that I've ever met.
Yes, and I think now we have many colleagues, women, who are a good example for that. Because I think the women can lead in another way than the men, because we can think about the other mind. Mm-hmm. And if you are a mother, you needed to share your time, your skills and everything in many parts. Mm-hmm. And you need to organize these parts. And I think that is a good skill which we need to learn at the beginning when we have the first child, for example.
And you had two at once.
Yes, I think it's really difficult, but I think everybody do all things what he or she in this part can do. Because I think it's very important to find a way to manage many things, many tasks. And if you have 2 children, you need to work with 2 children. Mm-hmm. If you have 3, with 3, 4, with 4. I think after 2 children, 1 more, it's not a big difficulty. I think the second one is not as easy, but I lose this step because I started with 2.
I see. What helps you to balance all of your various responsibilities and roles?
If I'm honest, I think my balance is not perfect. That's the truth, because sometimes I have no time to sleep, to rest, and go somewhere else and leave something behind me. Mm-hmm. And I think that would be very nice if I can manage, but it's not easy because of the many tasks which I have. And what I don't know, and I think it would be necessary, is to say no sometimes to somebody. Because that is also very important. Because if you say yes to everybody, after you really can reach the point that you cannot manage every task in your life.
What is your advice to people for saying no?
I think sometimes you need to be a bit selfish. Not too much, but a little bit. Because if you are a bit much more selfish, after you will have more energy again for the others. And it's not easy to learn this for women and for mothers, I think, but we must in the future.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you don't really have, you don't always have enough time to sleep or relax or something like that. But when you do, what do you like to do to relax?
Our main hobby in our family is traveling, and we loved caravanning. Uh-huh. And we could wear anywhere in the world. For example, we went to Turkey, and we were in a very wonderful small places, and I think it's more than interesting to see other cultures and to be alone in a part of the world where is no any tourists, only you. And I think this is the most relaxing thing, because in these travels I don't need to think about the work, because usually there is no internet, and nobody can reach me, and I'm only with my family and with the nature somewhere else.
That sounds very wonderful and
yes,
peaceful.
and it's really relaxing. Yes, and after you will go back to the lab and you have, I don't know how many thousands of email and at work. Yes, because the work is stopping in your emails and everywhere, but we can manage. And sometimes I ask my colleagues and students that check my email, because if something is interesting, do something.
You know, what you say about work stopping if you don't do it, I think a lot of mothers in particular always feel very deeply that situation, that if you don't do it, it will not get done. So you don't really have time to, be sick or anything, because the work will not be done. It will just stop and accumulate.
Yes. I think sometimes you need to stop, and I think your healthy is alarming you that you need to stop, because if you have high fever, for example, you can't do anything.
Absolutely.
But I think it's really true that mother can get pills and after can go and do many things, because we must. But that means that we have many energy. If everything is in good condition around me, and some persons help me, for example, or they support me in our work situation, after we can do many wonderful things together. And I think before of that, it's important to support women in the science, but I think it does not mean that we need any placards because of we are women in the science. We need these because we are good in the science, and okay, we are women. But that is important, because we have many decorations about we are women in science, but I think we are as good in science without this distinguishing that we are women, because we can work as hard, I think sometimes more hard than the others.
To wrap up our conversation for today, do you have any more advice for young women who are really interested in going into research, but they also hopefully want to maybe start a family, or maybe they already have a family?
Yes, I think if you have a family, you need to find your own time, and sometimes it's in the work. And I think if you like the challenges, and if you like thinking and do something, and you can go somewhere back to work, you need to start. And it sometimes it's too hard at the beginning, but after you can find a way, and you can spend time and energy on your work, and this kind of success will help you in your family work as well. And sometimes it is better if your children has to do something alone, because if you do everything, after they cannot manage in their life later. And I think it's very important for them as well that the mother works something, and they need to respect that mother has other things to do, and therefore they also need to do something for their family and not only for themselves.
Thank you so much for sharing your advice with us today and your story. I've heard so many wonderful things about you from a lot of people and some of our previous guests, so it was a real honor for me to get an opportunity to meet you in person and to ask you all of these questions today. Thank you so much.
I need to say thank you for you, and I think it was a very nice talk with you, and I hope you other good interviews with many other women and men in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.